years. So let's have some. Rueben Davidson.
Mr Speaker, thank you, Mr Speaker, and thank you for the opportunity to ask this House a question. And the question I want to ask this House is, do you think the current Minister of Science believes in science? Because that's a very good question too. I'll get to that. You might think that no minister holding the portfolio as the Minister of Science would have any answer other than absolutely. But recently, I had the opportunity to ask the Minister of Science at a Scrutiny Week hearing whether she believed in science, and her answer was, I hope so. I hope so. So let that sit for a moment. The Minister of Science, when being asked directly whether she believes in science, says that she hopes she does. That's not a slip of the tongue. It's a candid window into this government and that minister's approach to the very crucial and vital science sector in New Zealand. This is the third Minister of Science in as many years, Mr Speaker. This is also on top of an investment slowdown. And what we're seeing here, and I'm going to read this because it's important I get the detail right, that even though the government is trying to paint a rosy picture by pointing to private sector research and development investment, data from Stats New Zealand's latest survey shows that business spending on R&D has flatlined and employment in R&D has dropped 5 to 10% in a single year. And on top of that, we're talking about job losses now numbering more than 700 in our science sector. And this is not just numbers. These are people doing important work for the future of New Zealand, and those people have families and communities and contributions that they can no longer make in New Zealand. So I'm starting to see that there's actually a lack of hope from that minister for this sector. And nobody is arguing against the need for our science sector to have positive commercial outcomes. In fact, I think that's probably one point that every party in this House would agree on. But what this government has done is narrow the scope and walk away from key parts of the vital ecosystem that are required to have commercial outputs from our science sector. Now, Professor Nicola Gaston from the McDermott Institute puts it very well. She says, Mr Speaker, that it's a little like pulling an apple tree out by the roots to be able to harvest its fruit. Now, that's an absurd proposition, but it is very much a clear analogy for exactly what is happening to our science sector. The narrowing of the scope, the picking of the apples, but the tree is well and truly gone. Dr. Victoria Hatton, the CE of Food HQ, puts it even more clearer. She says that we have quietly cut 56 million from the primary industries and bioeconomy research that invents the tools we're busy celebrating. We are paying to help farmers adopt the science while defunding the science that comes next. Mr Speaker, I can't tell whether that is a failure of understanding or a complete failure to care. Whichever it is, or if it is both, it is definitely a failure for our science sector. And furthermore, just yesterday, scientists at our PHF Science Institute started their day standing on a picket line for the first time ever. The first time that they have had to take industrial action because of this government. And what do these scientists do? These are people who work on infectious diseases, people who work on forensic science, people who work on climate change, health and well-being, people who work on data science and AI, people who work on reducing drug harm, people who work in our science sector to develop and progress New Zealand's future, standing on a picket line so that they don't have to go backwards in what they're paid for that important work. Fleur Fitzsimmons, our National Secretary of the PSA, sums it up very well. She says, in the middle of a cost of living crisis, these workers are being asked to go backwards while doing essential work for the entire nation. These cuts across our science sector, Mr Speaker, are impacting real people, people doing vital work All New Zealanders will miss out as a result, and there is not much hope in that message and not much hope in our minister.
Steve Abel.